Before we begin, consider this. Imagine an acclaimed actress, having lived a full life, pausing at the end, and reflecting on 6 men she could never forget. That simple moment of reflection becomes a window into decades of experience. Tonight, we explore the hypothetical story of Diane Keaton, who, before her death at age 79, named 6 men she could never forget. Diane Keaton, a name known around the world for film, charm, and unforgettable performances. She lived a long life, spanning 79 years on this earth. In the twilight of that life, she paused, she looked back, and she named 6 men she could never forget. This is not a story of scandal, not a story of tragedy. Rather, it is a quiet survey of lives intersected, of moments shared, ordinary, yet to her, unforgettable. In the next several minutes, we examine those 6 men, who they were, what they meant, and why, even in death, their memories lingered. The first man, a childhood friend. The first man she named was not a celebrity, nor was he known to the public. He was a childhood friend, someone who shared her earliest memories. Diane was born in a modest home in Los Angeles. Her early years were unremarkable, bound by school, family, routine. Yet in that routine, she found a friend, a boy who lived 3 doors down. Their families attended the same church. On Sundays, they sat together, whispered during sermons, shared peanut butter sandwiches at recess, and imagined futures. To the outward observer, nothing special. But to Diane, he represented the purity of youth. That first memory, the 2 of them leaning against the swings at dusk, talking about stars and what lay beyond. As she grew older and moved away, the friend faded from her daily life. Letters, occasional postcards, then silence, but the memory remained, etched. Later, in the whirlwind of acting, fame, relationships, the nostalgia for those simple days remained. He was the first man she could never forget because he represented innocence, beginnings, and the person she was before ambitions and roles. The second man was an acting coach, someone she met when she first dared to dream of the stage. In her early 20s, before any acclaim, she auditioned for small roles, often failing, often discouraged. In those years, she met a man, older, patient, kind, demanding discipline. He taught her lines, but also taught her steadiness. He taught her that acting was not about glamour, but about truth. He assigned her classical plays, urged her to dig deep, to discover character not by imitation, but by internalizing feeling. When she nearly gave up, ready to return to a normal job, he told her, "If you walk away now, you'll always wonder what might have been." Something in his voice, something calm, persistent. Though their time together was brief, a couple of years, nothing more, she never forgot him. Because in those 2 years, she learned more than acting. She learned resilience, she learned craft, and she learned faith in herself. In naming him among the 6, she honored that foundation. Her life afterward, auditions, small roles, rejections, had the memory of his steady voice at its core. Even when she found success, that memory stood quietly behind everything. These first 2 men, one from childhood, one from early struggle. Innocence, guidance. Now, as Diane's life progressed, she met others. We continue. Life flows on, and with it, new faces, new memories. For Diane, the 3rd and 4th of the 6 men she could never forget were tied to ambition, to growth, to love, though not necessarily romantic love. The 3rd man was a film director, a relatively unknown figure at the time. He was casting for a small independent film. Diane, then in her late 20s, auditioned. The competition was steep. Many eager hopefuls, talent, skill, hunger. This director, let's call him Michael in her memory, saw something different. In her reading of the lines, in a hesitation, a flicker of something fragile. He called her back, gave her time, let others go, then asked her again, softly, patiently. When she got the role, it wasn't a blockbuster. No fame, no red carpet, but it was honest, real. And when the film premiered, in a small theater to a modest crowd, people noticed. Reviews spoke of authenticity, rawness, a promising start.
For Diane, this director had given her a chance to prove herself, to show the world not the glamorous actress, but the honest performer. Without him, perhaps she'd have drifted. Perhaps she'd have remained in auditions, waiting. She never contacted him again. But even decades later, when fame, awards, and recognition came, she remembered him. That third man remained a silent pivot in her career, a man who believed when others overlooked. The fourth man, a close friend during a lonely time. As her career moved forward, success followed. But success often brings solitude. People around you, glamorous parties, bright lights, fleeting conversations, yet real connection becomes rare. At such a time, the fourth man entered. A fellow actor, not in the same league of fame, but someone grounded, quiet, observant, sincere. He wasn't interested in gossip or celebrity. He was interested in conversation, in humanity. They met at a charity event, two actors making small talk. Music, wine, laughter. She spoke of longing, for simplicity, for authenticity, for a life beyond the facade. He listened. He shared stories, childhood, mistakes, regrets, hopes. They spoke long into the night. Over weeks and months, a friendship developed. Not romantic, or maybe a quiet romance that never blossomed, but something deeper. Companionship in anonymity. Walks in parks, coffees in small cafes, letters, postcards when schedules diverged. In that friendship, Diane found comfort, a reminder that beneath fame, she was still human. That beneath applause, she still had simple needs. Trust, respect, kindness. When the friendship eventually faded, partly because of distance, partly because of diverging paths, the memory didn't. Because in that lonely period, he was a lifeline. To name him among the six was to acknowledge that sometimes it isn't great love or grand moments. Sometimes it's a quiet presence when the world seems loud and empty. So far, from childhood innocence to early mentorship, from early professional break to fragile friendship. 4 men, 4 chapters. 2 remain. In part 3, 2 men intertwined with love, regret, and memory. What shaped her final years? What haunted her dreams? What she never forgot? We reach the final 2, the 5th and 6th men. Their place in Diane's memory seems heavier, more complex. They are men tied not only to life, but to love, loss, and longing. A love that almost was. The 5th man was someone she met later, in her mid-30s. A man outside the film world, not an actor, not famous, perhaps a writer, perhaps an artist. Someone who saw her not as the actress, but as a person. They met at a gallery opening. She wandered amidst paintings, sketches, muted lighting, classical music. He stood alone by a canvas, looking contemplative. Something about his gaze, calm, unpretentious, drew her. She approached. They spoke. Not about her fame, not about art, about life, about regret, about hopes. He told her about his work, his failures, his dreams of writing something meaningful. She spoke of longing and success, of longing for authenticity, of shadows behind the spotlight. Their connection deepened. Letters, quiet dinners, walks by the sea, conversations under stars. In those moments, the world fell away. Not the world of cameras or scripts, but a small world of two people. They never married. They did not publicize their relationship. Life's demands, her career, his uncertainties, gradually pulled them apart. But the memory of those evenings, that quiet love, remained. When she named him among the six, it was a testament to what could have been. A love fragile, imperfect, fleeting, but unforgettable. Because sometimes the love that doesn't last leaves the deepest
The
mark.
sixth man was, in many ways, the hardest to include. He represented regret, a mistake, a choice, a path not taken. Perhaps a friend turned foe, perhaps a lover turned ghost. In the final years, as Diane looked back, she named him, not with fondness, but with weight. He was someone she trusted early in her career, promised collaboration, promised opportunity, but in the end, he withdrew. Projects never happened, efforts forgotten, words left unfulfilled. He disappeared when she needed support. For a time, she resented him, felt betrayed, felt used. The world knows only success, glamour, but behind the scenes, there are disappointments, betrayals, and loneliness. That man embodied one of those, a wound inflicted by someone close. Yet in naming him among the six, Diane acknowledged complexity. Because memory isn't just about love or kindness, sometimes it's about pain that shapes you, a wound that stays hidden but never fades. She never sought reconciliation, she never publicly spoke of the hurt, but by naming him, she acknowledged that he shaped her, perhaps hardened her, perhaps made her careful, perhaps taught her to trust only herself. 6 threads in a tapestry of a life: childhood innocence, mentorship, opportunity, friendship, love, regret. To many, this list may seem banal, uneventful, but for Diane, and for any life lived fully, perhaps these are the anchor points. Moments, people, choices. In the end, when the public lights dim, when awards gather dust, and when cameras fade, what remains are memories. Not grand gestures, not blockbusters, but quiet moments. Honest kindness, fleeting love, pain, regret, hope.